Hello everyone. Welcome to Resonant News. Welcome to this deep dive into the swirling geopolitics of Middle East where oil, alliances and proxy wars intersect with global superpower. Even before I begin, in the latest, Iran hit oil tanker with 15 Indian crew members in the Strait of Hormuz. 4 were injured, unfortunate but not unexpected. Today, we are unpacking why Iran might be China's last strategic stronghold in the region, especially amid recent escalations. We'll explore the fall of regimes, massive investments, secret pipelines, and why conflict seems inevitable no matter who's in the White House. Now, buckle up as we break it down step by step with clear explanations on key topic. So, first, Iran's strategic value to China and the 400 billion gamble of China. Iran represents China's latest and last major hope in the Middle East for securing energy supplies and keeping the US bogged down in regional conflicts. This is something that I had been covering since very long now. With Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei dead, interim, interim leadership duties have been taken up by Ali Reza Arafi as part of temporary ruling interim council that is managing the country during the transition until a new leader is chosen. The interim council will also include the president and the head of judiciary. It will lead the country until the assembly of experts elects a permanent leader as soon as possible. Now, Ali Reza, I'm sure you must be wondering who is he? He was born in 1915 in Maybod in central Iranian province of Yazd. Ali Reza Arafi comes from a family of Islamic clerics. And in 1961, apparently as an 11-year-old, Arafi moved to Qom for further religious studies, having acquired initial knowledge from his father. He rose to prominence in 1989. This is the year when Ali Khamenei became Iran's supreme leader. Over the years, Arafi held three important positions in Iran as the Guardian Council member, elected into Assembly of Experts, and most influential as director of Iran's nationwide seminary system. Meanwhile, as I started, China has poured an estimated 400 billion into Iran over the years. This isn't just about infrastructure, it's a calculated move to entangle America and its allies in endless Middle Eastern quagmires, diverting its attention, America's and Western allies' attention from Asia. As you know, most of the US naval assets are right now in the Middle East. China would prefer this to happen because Taiwan is going into war by 2027. That's just an year later. So, why does all this matter? China relies heavily on Iranian oil imports, which fuel its massive economy. By investing in Iran, Beijing was ensuring a steady supply while propping up groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. I'm sure at least some of you must be surprised. These proxies keep Israel and America occupied, buying China the time to prepare for potential conflicts elsewhere, like in the South China Sea, which I mentioned about. Now we'll dive deeper into this, into why these events are unfolding. But first, let me clarify the Khamenei lineage because a lot of people do get confused when Khamenei is mentioned. The supreme leaders of Iran and who exactly is Khamenei. To understand Iran's current leadership, we need to explain the number of Khameneis who held power essentially, which we were talking about. Now, Iran has had two supreme leaders since 1979 Islamic Revolution. The first one was Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, and he took power in 1979 and died in 1989. His regime continued for about 10 years. He led the revolution that overthrew the Shah, establishing the Islamic Republic of Iran. Khomeini came to power in 1979, as I said, and not in 1970s as early 70s as many believe. Now, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he is the second supreme leader who came to power in 1989 and died yesterday. Now, he succeeded Khomeini after his death and has had been in power for over 3 decades now. He was killed in Israeli strikes yesterday, as we all know by now, and he was seeing Iran's support for regional militia and Iran's nuclear ambitions. Khamenei's era intensified Iran's proxy wars. This continuity of leadership, only 2 in 45 years, highlights Iran's rigid theocratic system. I want to point that out. But it's Khamenei's policies that have actually drawn the global ire. This fanatism surged in late 1970s under Khomeini, coinciding with CIA-backed shifts in the region, which includes General Ziaul Haq's rise in Pakistan around the same time. I have been pointing this out multiple times that when Islamic revolution took place in Iran, things not just changed in Iran but also in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia too. Now, interestingly, a Middle Eastern journalist had very recently claimed that Ziaul Haq was assassinated in 1988 for refusing America's demands to act against Iran. We had put out a shot in this context. You can go and check our channel and the shots we published. Fast forwarding to today, Pakistan's current army chief, Asim Munir, earned a lot of praise for Trump for aiding America's effort against Iran. I'm sure you all must have seen how Trump was going gaga about Iran and about Asim Munir, and I was honestly not surprised by what was happening. Now, even if Donald Trump had not been in the picture, now this is something that I've been repeating since very long, that even if Donald Trump was not in the picture, Iran would likely face attacks under a Biden administration too, or in fact, any US leader. This so because after the fall of allied regimes in Syria and Venezuela, Iran stands as the next domino in a chain of anti US strongholds. And as you know, Syria, Venezuela, and Iran are pro China entities. Now, these countries form a loose axis of resistance against the Western influence. This war or this conflict would have taken place under all circumstances, is what I strongly believe, w- irrespective of the fact that there could have been any American government, and this war would have taken place, just as US armed Taiwan to counter China under both Trump and Biden. Though when it happened under Biden, it was more happening under the carpet. No, it wasn't really. It was happening silently, and not much news was coming about it. Now, Iran's oil sales to China makes it a prime target. Stifling Iran would trigger an energy crisis in China, cutting off a vital supplier. Beijing saw this coming, and we had earlier reported that they have been building massive oil storage tanks to buffer against disruptions. Now, this isn't paranoia, it's actually strategic foresight in a world of escalating rivalries. And I do see US headed to China next. Now, historical ties and betrayals, if you look at it, there's Iran, Israel, India, all of them involved in this. Iran and Israel's relationship is something very complex, and I find it very interesting. Far beyond the religious divides, they have an interesting history. Now, during the Shah's rule, which is pre 1979, they had a secret oil pipeline supplying Israel, and this symbolizes the pragmatic alliances in a volatile region. Now, you cannot blame religious fanatism for Israel war, which is happening right now, Israel targeting Gaza, because this place has been tumultuous since the Babylonian times, when Jews were targeted not just for faith, but because the area is a critical trade choke point, like the Panama Canal, like the Strait of Malacca, Strait of Hormuz, where all the global oil, you control Strait of Hormuz, you control the global oil flow. Same is true for Panama. Same is true for Strait of Malacca, where if you control these trade choke points, you control the trade across the world. So, what happened to Iran and India's ties? I often get surprised when Iran gets a lot of support within India. Now, India did invest in Iran's Chabahar port for strategic access to Afghanistan, bypassing Pakistan. But recently, India pulled back, growing shy. So, did India foresee a war coming to Iran's doorstep? Most likely, yes. Iran, in turn, supports Pakistan on the Kashmir issue, and this has strained India Iran relationship a lot, multiple times. Now, earlier this year, Iran captured 16 Indian sailors in January 2026, and then India struck back. India's Coast Guard seized three oil tankers in the Arabian Sea as part of what it described as a coordinated operation against an international oil smuggling network. Interestingly, all the vessels belong to Iran. So, is that a tit for tat by India? I think yes. So, then happened the Modi visit to UAE. I will relate this to UAE President's visit trip to India too. Now, both of this was focused on defense deals. As I said earlier, expect UAE to buy Israeli weapon systems via India. Now, this works in the favor of all the three parties involved. UAE will not be under the pressure that UAE's relationships are getting, UAE's bond with Israel is getting stronger, because UAE will be buying weapons through India. India gets the support of UAE and Israel, and it works in our favor too. And of course, it works in Israel's favor. Now, zooming out to the Indian subcontinent, we have seen multiple regime changes here. Now, in 2021, the Myanmar military coup shifted power. 2024 brought upheaval in Bangladesh, with Sheikh Hasina leaving the country. And then Nepal. Nepal faced multiple elections and unstable governments in last 5 years. Maldives, of course, has a dubious game going on. It leans towards China and Pakistan while collaborating with Turkey. And all these moves challenge India's regional dominance. We are all aware of it. Now, last night's escalation, what really happened? I'll just summarize what happened during the Iran strike. I'll so of course, Israel took the maximum number of hits, and multiple cities were hit with reports of damage in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Ashdod military base, and then of course the Haifa is where there's a port that opens into the sea, and Haifa port often comes under attack from Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. From what I understand, Saudi and Kuwait had faced the maximum number of attacks. Not sorry, the maximum number of attacks. I meant most of the US bases in Saudi and Kuwait were hit. Yet, why you did not see many videos coming out of Saudi and Kuwait was because of the laws there. It is not allowed to what do you call it, to record videos. If you see something happening, it's against the rule of the land, and as Indian government would like it, not Indians and all the countries, all the expats try to follow the rule, and you would not see many videos coming out of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Yet you would have seen something like that happening from Bahrain, UAE, and Qatar, because the laws are more relaxed here when it comes to such matters. Now, UAE has claimed that it intercepted over 506 drones, multiple missiles, and about when I say multiple missiles, the numbers are 165, which also includes two cruise missiles, showcasing their advanced defense, which is supported by USA. And UAE has also reported that three were killed and 58 were injured. Out of the three killed, at least one of them was Pakistani, as per the news reports. And then, of course, from the videos that came, there were a lot of videos coming out from Kuwait. There was a lot of videos coming out from Qatar, but Bahrain seemed to have the heaviest. It faced the heaviest barrage. A U.S. commander. No, this is as per the Iranian claim. A U.S. commander in a hotel came under direct fire, and of course that is when the I'm sure you would have seen a video of Bahrainian hotel being attacked by the Shahed drone, and the whole um, building being destroyed. The whole building caught fire actually. Now the Strait of Hormuz was also temporarily closed. Iran's IRGC attacked the ship, as I said earlier. And then, of course, I also saw a Turkish vessel had changed its name, uh, and the name apparently in Arabic meant don't fire at us. So, as I expect, GCC will retaliate. GCC would mean Gulf Cooperation Council, which includes Saudi, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar. Now, these countries will retaliate but I think Israel will continue to do the heavy lifting. Saudi Arabia is region's military powerhouse, and it might join in. Others, other countries which are Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and UAE, which are the smaller countries, they will try to economically stifle Iran and economically isolate Iran, choking all the oil exports. I really with at this stage, um, Iran is gone berserk. I cannot predict what Iran is planning next, but I can predict what GCC is planning next. Now, the real reasons I still believe are not religious fanatism, as is projected often in our media. Religious fanaticism is often blamed, especially in Iran's brand since 1979 revolution, but that's really not the core driver. Iran got about 400 billion from China in 2020, as I mentioned earlier, and it has visibly not boosted Iran's infrastructure. So all this was funneled into supporting Hamas and Hezbollah, and this is what keeps Israel and stuck in the Middle East. China openly backed Hamas after October 7, 2023 attacks. I'm sure many will not believe it, but you can go back and Google the videos. Israel, this is why Israel even attacked the Chinese UNIFIL. UNIFIL is a United Nations, United Nations soldiers who are deployed along the Israel and Lebanon border. So Israel had hit China's UNIFIL camp in the Lebanon recently, and I'm sure the reason is China's support for Hamas and Hezbollah. So, so why? So this is something that I was thinking about introducing. That this is something that I want people to really think about. That why did America resurrect Taliban? Of course, to destabilize Iran and Pakistan, believe it or not. Both are pro-China entities in this region. Iran in Middle East, Pakistan in the Indian subcontinent. Now, China is anticipating a war in 2027 in the South China Sea. So it wants US naval assets to be pinned in Middle East, and India and Pakistan to remain distracted, and India to be busy with Pakistan along the line of control, which keeps the line of actual control, which is LAC, quiet and peaceful, so that China can concentrate its resources along its southern borders and in South China Sea. Now, just in case if you thought Russia will support Iran in all this, in what is happening right now, Putin gave a very clear message last year. This is something that we had put up in our resonant news shorts, that he said, he made it amply clear that Russia will not interfere if Iran comes under fire from Israel and US. This so because Iran really hasn't asked for help. Now, though Russia vocally always supports Iran in places like United Nations Security Council, in fact, it did so last night too when there was an urgent meeting at UNSC. China and Pakistan had also stood up for Iran. But let me tell you, you might see Pakistan supporting Iran at such places. Finally, Field Marshal Asim Munir will continue to support US against Iran, because if he doesn't do so, Pakistan will face the next regime change. Now, if I were to conclude this here, I will say conflicts in Middle East will escalate with potential saturation strikes happening on Iran. Now, yet Iran is crucial for regional balance. This is something that I've been saying since very long, and it might be able to strike. Iran might be able to strike a deal with US to avoid a full regime change. Now, uh, we can let's watch how that really unfolds. And meanwhile, China is no fool. It is plotting more proxy pushes like the Thailand Cambodia tensions. There, Cambodia was openly, overtly pro China, and Thailand, which maintains good relations with America, is which maintains good relations with China, is an American ally. And this is happening right at the Strait of Malacca, which I said is a trade choke point where the chances of happening war is very high. So, yes, things will escalate on every continent, believe it or not, targeting whoever aligns with China. Now, hope this breakdown really, hope this breakdown helped you understand what is actually happening. I did not want to add any fluff here. I just wanted you to understand the core issue. I hope I could I hope I could explain this well. And if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for being with us on this live. Good day and good night.